Duke volleyball player Rachel Richardson was subjected to racial slurs during a match at BYU Friday evening. Richard's godmother, Lisa Pamplin, tweeted that Richardson was called a racial slur every time she served during the match. She also wrote that Richardson was threatened by a white male that told her to watch her back. Going back to the team bus, a police officer had to be put by their bench. Richardson, a 19-year-old sophomore from Ellicott City, Maryland, shared a statement to Twitter Sunday detailing that officials on site didn't react quickly enough when they were made aware of the behavior during play, nor did they adequately address the situation immediately after the game. Here's more of her statement she shared to Twitter, in part reading, "This is not the first time this has happened in college athletics, and sadly, it likely will not be the last time. However, each time it happens, we as student athletes, coaches, fans, and administrators have a chance to educate those who act in hateful ways."
See, change is what this is all about. You're BYU, let's just say you ain't the most attractive place for folks to come. And since we're talking about BYU, now we're looking at every university of quote-unquote.
Every university, yep.
We're looking at everybody, okay? And oh, by the way, this ain't the 70s when you had a bunch of white people on the air talking about BYU with kid gloves on, not wanting to address it with the fervor that it deserves. You're listening to brothers now and sisters who looked at one of our little sisters and said, who the hell do y'all think y'all are? What the hell do y'all think y'all doing? Now, I want to make sure that I'm clear. We're not castigating, we're not demonizing white people. We're not literally painting with a broad brush a whole bunch. There's a lot of God-fearing, decent white folks out there. And for those of you who are white, who would never do something like this, we're not talking about you. So don't personalize it and come to the defense because you're white and 3 black men on TV and we're talking about what happened to our little sister here. Don't think we're talking about you, because that's the mistake folks in white America make. They make the mistake of thinking you're talking about them when you're talking about some fool who shares their ethnicity, their pigmentation, their culture, and you're saying that's all of y'all. That's not what we're saying. So don't embrace it that way. If you wouldn't do something like that, and we ain't talking about you, this ain't applicable.
Not talking to you.
LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith, and Ben Crump ignored the murder of Mike Hickman in front of his 9-year-old son and wife. Alleged racial taunts in a Duke-BYU volleyball match are more worthy of discussion than the murder of a father, husband, and former college football player at a Pee-wee football game. It's all a bunch of BS, man. Someone is shouting the N-word for 2 hours and no one reacts, no one does anything. Your reaction to any and all of this?
Well, first, I have so much disgust for Stephen A. Smith that anything I say is biased, admittedly. You know, that bit that he did around this entire issue is so intellectually, culturally, politically dishonest. It's hard for me to watch it. I got shivers. I'm actually that angry about it because, you know, people like Stephen A. Smith are exactly how we got to where we are in this country, for the black community, but for American citizens of all. And as a black man, this whole story offends me, really, because this isn't a real story. Like, you know, impossible that a person would stand up and yell the N-word continuously for 2 hours and somebody not do something about it. And even you heard in the motif with her letter that she wrote, you know, I don't want to give that person the satisfaction of letting them know they got to me. That's the type of passive American citizenship that the liberal establishment loves. No, if it's me, dispense with the tradition and the customs of a sports event. Dispense with the game. You couldn't call me the N-word in front of 6,000 people and me not address you right there. And in this way, you know, I kind of respect Ron Artest going up into the stands at Malice in the Palace and saying, hey, look, there are no immutable lines. You pay your ticket, you come to the arena, you're in the game. And if you decide to attack a player or say something, even though I don't think this actually went the way she said, you're in the game. Let's get to it. You got to back that up. That's American citizenship. That's the rustic individualist. That's taking your freedom and your citizenship into your own hands and depending on yourself to secure your freedom. But aside from that, Jason, this is not a story.
If this story was true, then I think it's wrong to call out LeBron James and Stephen A Smith. I know they're not perfect, but they were simply calling out something that was wrong. And if she was actually threatened and someone actually made those comments, then they deserve to be called out. But two wrongs don't make a right. And the kid that got banned was not the one shouting. There might have been someone else shouting, or this story could be completely made up. But either way, they got the wrong guy. The kid that went up to her was the kid that they investigated, but on camera, he never shouted at her. He never shouted when she was serving, and when he went up to her, he didn't even say anything. She might have just misidentified the guy, but either way, the athletic department insisted that they ban him. The police had no evidence and didn't want to ban him, but the athletic department forced their hand because it was a major story and they needed to ban somebody to take the fall, so that way they could cover their own ass. If there were racial slurs, then someone needs to do something about it, but just banning a random person, a random bystander, isn't the answer. And like I said, two wrongs don't make a right. How is banning this kid gonna stop that from happening in the future? You're just picking a random person from the pile and hoping that that solves the issue? I agree with Whitlock that sometimes Stephen A and LeBron choose their battles instead of just trying to fight for equality, like, I don't know, China. But in this case, they were right to call it out. If the story is true, they better catch the guy that made those slurs, because right now, someone else is taking the fall for him. And if the story is false, hopefully it comes to light that it was made up, so that way these false accusations don't happen in the future. But now I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. I know there's a lot to take in, but please leave your thoughts so we can discuss. And leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more content just like this. And I will see you in the next upload.